Hi, and welcome to Behind the Saddle. My name's Liam, and today we've got amateur jockey Ellie Callwood. How are you, Ellie? How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Have you been up to much lately?
Well, we've just been getting the pointers in and getting them fit. We've had a couple of runners so far. Kind of kicks off next weekend, really. Got 5 runners from the yard, and then as soon as Christmas is out the way, it'll be all guns blazing. We'll have the whole yard out.
Oh, great. So let's just take it all right back. Where did the journey of horses begin for you?
So the journey of horses, my mum and dad are both very horsey. My dad and brothers are whips for hunts, and sort of have hunters on livery and produce them. Also dairy farmers by trade. And my mum produces show horses, so everyone, and my grandma has a riding school actually, so there's a lot of horses in the family, no racing at all, but I've been brought up very, in the rural countryside, and I've always had a horse there to ride if I want it.
So where was the moment where you realised you really wanted to be a jockey?
When I was a kid, I just loved going fast, and I've always wanted to be a jockey, but I don't know how keen my parents were on it, and it was kind of one of them. They were so busy. If I wanted to ride, I had to tack up myself, so it kind of took me a bit to get going. And then obviously with school and whatnot, with having no racing background, it was quite difficult. I didn't do pony racing or anything. Did a lot of showing and show jumping as I grew up and hunting, which gave me a good eye and made me a bit more accurate over the fences and flat work and whatnot. And it was a very good grounding actually. And then when I was 14 actually, we had to do work experience at school. So my show jumping coach was good friends with Dan Skelton.
Oh,
So he said, "Oh, go there." So I went for 2 weeks and I stayed for 2 months throughout the summer holidays, and it was brilliant. I loved it. I only came back because I had to go back to school, but
yeah.
that was it then, really. I got the bug and I wanted to get into it. And my mum was going to support me fully, so Dan told us to get a pointer pointer, and that's what we did. And I took it to well, I don't know his Harry Skelton's sister-in-law,
All right, okay.
Gina Andrews. Obviously,
Yeah.
Gina and Bridget are sisters, so I took it to G&T Racing and worked there for 4 years, I think. And had a few goes. I was there novice rider for a bit while I was still a novice rider. I had a few spins and got some outside rides and just got the bug really.
Yeah, obviously before you said obviously your family wasn't really heavily into racing, but obviously what was the moment when you first got your license and obviously when you first stayed the racetrack?
My first day's racing was a disaster, to be honest. Um, I got my license in, I think, it was a year of COVID, so all pointing had been stopped, and I was ready to go for the first meeting, but we were in lockdown, so it wasn't until February or March that I actually got to go. And by that time, the ground had dried up, and my horse wanted heavy ground, and I got really left behind and ended up crashing out through the wing on an
No.
absolute schoolmaster. So I'll never live that down. It was not a good day, but I loved it all the same. And yeah, I just got the bug then and just wanted to keep going. And I had a few more spins that season, and I think I had a couple of seconds on the same horse. And then the next year I got another one, so I had two of my own. They were only cheap, but they were like, one was a great schoolmaster, and the other one, he was an absolute dream for me. I was very lucky to come across him, and I think he won 7 in a row. So he really got me on the map, and that's when other people started noticing me and getting outside rides, really.
No, definitely. Obviously, you did say before you mentioned about Dan Skellton. What was that experience like for you, and how do you think it set you up for now? For now?
Oh, massively so, because back home is Cheshire and there aren't many racing yards around there. So wherever I went, I'd have to go and leave home. And it was a great community. They really looked after you in the lodge, and I made some great friends. and everyone was very helpful. They actually helped you because I didn't know what I was doing. Riding a
Yeah,
racehorse is very different to riding a normal horse, and like they were very good to let a 14-year-old girl ride out because not many
yeah,
places would do that, especially at a yard like that. I thought I'd be
yeah,
spending more time with a shovel in my hand, but
yeah,
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 they gave me a lot of chances. I mean, obviously I can ride, but it they didn't know that. So,
yeah, exactly.
they were very good to, teach me, as daft as that sounds.
No, definitely. And obviously, you mentioned your family are quite haughty people. Did you have any inspirations growing up? Was they a big part of what you're doing now?
Yeah, I suppose so. To start with, when I was doing the showing and stuff, my mum, she's a very good horsewoman and she's won quite a lot. So I sort of followed in her footsteps and I suppose took over from her before I decided that I wanted to leave home and give this a good go. And, without her, like I would definitely not be where I am. She's been a
Yeah,
massive support and anything I've done, she's been there to back me. So yeah, I've been very lucky.
and obviously you've ridden. Obviously, since you got your license, you have ridden in the UK in a lot of race courses. But obviously, the last couple of months and last year, you went over to New Zealand. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's always something that I've always loved doing, traveling. So obviously the summer was our downtime and the yards aren't that busy. So when I used to work for Tom and Gina, I'd go somewhere, anywhere, just to get out and see the world. One season in the summer, I went to America for 3 months, riding out track work for Graham Motion at Fair Hill. I've been to France, to Emmanuel Cleo, for a couple of weeks, and I've been to Ireland at Henry de Bromhead's for a month. And they've all been great experiences, and
Yeah,
I just wanted to keep going. And, although France, Ireland, America, they were great, I didn't have a riding opportunity over there. It was just working. Whereas I've seen a few people go out to New Zealand and, they've not even been, without being rude, the best jockeys, but
yeah,
they seem to be getting on really well. And it was just another adventure, to be honest, and to see new ways of training. I just love seeing different people's ways of how they deal with the horses and whatnot. And the opportunity came up, and they are desperate for English jockeys to go over. They have a massive shortage of jockeys, so there's loads of opportunities over there. It's very different to how it is over here. The horses are trained very differently. I mean, you know, and they're a very different caliber of horse and type of horse because most of them, well, they all run on the flat before they turn to jumps. They're not
yeah.
natural bred jumpers, and the money isn't in it like it is over here. But it was a brilliant opportunity, and I'd love to go back next season.
Yeah, well, obviously, what was you obviously when you now a jump jockey? What made you persuade to be a jump jockey rather than a flat jockey?
I've never really had much interested in the flat, to be honest. I've always just wanted to go fast and jump the fences.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, the weight, I could do the weight, but I don't think it's the life that I'd want, if that makes sense.
yeah.
And I don't have the interest in it anywhere near as much as the jumps.
No,
So,
definitely. Obviously, yeah. No, what would you say the biggest differences are from obviously racing in England and Ireland compared to obviously racing in New Zealand and other countries?
I
Sorry.
think the difference between New Zealand and England really is the caliber of horses. The distances of races are a lot shorter over there because they're flat bred.
Yeah,
So they probably run a lot faster, but not as far. Um, and again, without being rude, the horses are not as good as here. They're not
yeah.
bred to do what we do.
And how does the
Sorry.
racing culture compare to obviously New Zealand to maybe in England? What's the atmosphere like over there, racing wise?
Um, Everyone is very friendly.
Sorry.
Racing in England here, if you go racing, you have to take your own horse from your own yard, and you're not helping other people out. It's very much, every man for themselves. It's very competitive. Whereas over there, anybody would just help each other out. They'll say, "Oh, I'll take your horse racing for you," and it's it doesn't seem as professional, if
Yeah,
that makes sense. It's more of a family, like everyone's friends, and they all just help each other out, um, and want the best for everybody else. There's not as much competitiveness maybe as there would be over here.
And what's one thing you've learned going over there as a probably as a person as and as a jockey?
And maybe one of the things is you've got to treat every horse differently,
Yeah.
because you know they have very funny ways over there of how they train
Yeah.
them, and you've got to. It's better if you know them, and I always think it's better if you can go and ride a horse before you have to sit on it in a race and just get to know, because it just goes so much better if that's the case.
No, definitely. And obviously, what's the atmosphere like the yards and stuff like that? Obviously, I know before you said they do a lot of things differently compared to the UK. What would you say the main differences are like in the training yards and such?
A lot of people just train them round a field, and this is, professional racing. You wouldn't be getting that here. Everyone's got thousand
Yeah.
pounds worth of gallops, and they'll just train in a concrete field. To be honest, they have schooling trials and schooling races and jump outs where they go and they have to go there before they're allowed to race. They have to be given two tickets at two trials or two schooling races to be able to go in a jumps race. So I think it's a really good idea, to be honest, that because then at least the horse can jump. And it's
Yeah.
been on a day, like a young horse, it's been for a day that, you know, it's seen bits and bobs around, because sometimes it's a lot for them to go racing and
Yeah.
see all the atmosphere and have to perform. So it was quite a nice thing that they got to do that, and they had to do that before. But because a lot of them just train at like massive training centres. So there'll be
All right.
5 or 6 yards at one centre, and then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got people just training around their field. But the ones that obviously go around the training centre, they just sort of go flat out, and they don't really work them as hard as what we would do.
No, yeah, that's definitely fascinating to obviously see the other side of things, and obviously in different countries and how different countries work, and obviously the sport that we all love. So let's talk a little bit about yourself and like being a jockey. What does a day look like for you? Obviously waking up in the morning to obviously going to bed at night.
Yeah, so obviously get up pretty quick out of bed, 25 minutes, half an hour. I live on site, so go to work. We start with haying the horses, feeding them, mucking them out, and then we'll usually ride around 6 lots. I mean, at the moment, it's probably a little bit more because we've been short-staffed with member of staff off injured. But it's yeah, usually between 6 and 8 at the moment. And then wash them down, usual yard duties afterwards, give them their lunch and change rugs, those kind of things. And then we usually have an hour and a half for lunch. Come in, maybe just have a bit of a snack. Um, have a bit of admin if there's stuff I need to do on my phone. If I'm racing, I'll look through like horses form and watch some races in the back for the weekend or check entries. Back out for evening stables. That's about 2 hours. Usual jobs again, horses on and off the walker, brushing them, making sure they've all got cream if they've got any cuts and whatnot, skipping them out. And then obviously feeding, putting them all to bed, and then a few nights a week, go to the gym, probably about 4 times a week after work. And then, to be honest, you don't want to do much else when you get home. Have a chill on the sofa, have some tea, and go to bed. It's not very exciting my life at the moment.
Yeah. No, definitely. Obviously, I know how hard it is at being a jockey. What would you say the hardest part about being a jockey and your job is?
Um, Probably you could say the pressure.
Yeah.
Um, you've got to, especially with being attached to a yard. Obviously, I know the horses inside and out, and you know, you sort of know what to expect. So if it doesn't go right, it's usually me to blame. So you've got to be so switched on and look at things. If a horse is having an off day, I've got to, it's my job to notice and yeah, just to be completely switched on at the races and do my best.
No, definitely. Obviously, you've achieved so much in your career so far. Obviously, getting your license and obviously going over to New Zealand and racing over there. Obviously, talk us a little bit about you've had a few rides this year at the Entry Festival and also the Cheltenham Festival. Talk to us a little bit about that. How was that for you?
Yeah, they were absolutely amazing. So some of the best rides I've ever had. Aintree is my local track at home, so I've
Yeah,
always wanted to ride around those big fences. That was the dream when I first set out. So it's great that I've been able to do that. And Cheltenham, Music Drive, a horse that we were just given by chance, had broken down for Gordon Elliott, had a few years off, and we never knew what he could be. You can dream, but it was getting in there, and yeah, he was very unexposed. He'd never jumped a regulation fence before. Only had two runs over fences. Um, so we didn't really know what to expect. He went out 33-1 and he was fourth. And it was the biggest buzz coming back in with all those people. He was the
yeah.
first English pointer home. He jumped superb, and he was, it was just an amazing experience. And hopefully he'll be there again this year. And I'd like to think he'd be pretty competitive. The horse that went to Aintree, Bothwell Bridge, he is my ultimate favourite, but he's
Yeah.
probably just getting a little bit older now, and he wanted a longer trip really. But he didn't put a foot wrong. I couldn't have asked for a better horse to jump round there on. And he gave the owners and me a great day out, and we all loved it. So
Yeah.
hopefully he'll run a few more races this year, but just not quite a higher standard.
How proud does it make you feel, and obviously all your family feel, of riding in like collaborative races, like them big races over in obviously Aintree and Cheltenham?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I probably play it down,
Yeah,
because you look back and it is cool.
yeah, yeah,
And not many people can say they've done it, never mind be placed. And I think my family are very proud actually. I know my mum and my grandma are, they love it. They don't miss a race. Like if they can be there, they'll do everything they can to come
yeah.
and watch me. And they've been great supporters. And yeah, I didn't, looking back, I never thought any of this was possible. So it's it's great to see like that I've actually done it and where I can go from here.
So, at the start of the season, do you ever set yourself targets and goals? Obviously, everyone wants to get as many rides as possible and as many winners as possible. But are you someone that always setting targets and goals in your career?
Yeah, I think you've got to improve, to be fair. And last year was to get a ride at Cheltenham and Aintree, so I did that pretty well. And that means riding around there means more than winners to me. I mean, now I'd probably like the winners as well because I've already done
Yeah,
it. So
yeah.
to ride more winners this year than I have in any other year would be great. And again, hopefully be competitive in those Fox Hunters next year. Would be great.
And are you someone to maybe watch your races back after you've raced?
Oh yeah, definitely. As soon as they come back out, I'm
Yeah.
a bit critical almost. I always think it looks awful, but it's good. And my boss always looks back through them as well. And we look at things that we probably should do differently next time, or things that work well that we'll do again, and vice versa.
So obviously behind the saddle, we want to try and showcase everyone in the industry. And obviously being in racing, obviously any equestrian sports, there's a lot of people behind the scenes. How important and vital do you think these people are in the industry?
Oh, massively so. It wouldn't carry on without promotion from, people like you. And it's, there's a lot of bad publicity about the sport, and it's so important that we just keep, promoting it in a positive way. And the horses are looked after like kings. I know that for a fact. Our horses, they go to bed better than I do sometimes,
Yeah.
and they're treated so well. And there's, you know, some people don't like racing, that's fine, but the horses, they love it. I know, they wouldn't carry on if they didn't. They wouldn't do it if they didn't want to. Like there's a few that don't. So it's just, it's got to be keep being promoted as well as it has been doing, because everyone's doing a great job. So yeah, hopefully long may it continue.
No, definitely. What's the plan for you in the next 5 years? Where do you want to be?
Oh, that's a good question. If you'd asked me this 5 years ago, I'd say where I am. I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy. I'd quite like to win the amateur title, at some point. Um, so that would be a good aim to look forward to. Hopefully, I'll have won that in 5 years, and just really probably to ride more under rules. And
Yeah.
you could say a fox hunter winner, but it's I'd love to ride a fox hunter winner, and I'd like to think we have the horse to do it, but you just need a little bit of luck on your side, I think. So,
No, so let's learn a little bit more about yourself as a person. What are you doing when you're not racing? And obviously, I know you don't get much time off, and obviously, when you do, you're probably quite a bit tired. But what do you like doing when you're off? Do you have any hobbies you like doing?
oh God, that's a good one. To be honest, I try and if I've got time off, I try and go home, back to Cheshire just to see family because it doesn't
Yeah.
happen very often, and catch up with friends. Nothing exciting, just maybe go to the pub and have a pint in the beer garden,
Yeah.
or go home and help my family. I think that's the best way of spending time with them. Sometimes they're that busy, I can go and help with the cows or help them ride the hunters. My brother has just bought a thoroughbred himself, and he's desperate to. He breeds quite a lot of shires and show jumpers, and he's desperate to try and breed me a racehorse. So he's just bought one of them. So we're sort of at the moment, any spare time, we're looking into different sires to use, and yeah, what we're going to put her to, which is exciting.
Yeah, and obviously before you said obviously your childhood and stuff. Obviously you've been heavily involved, and all your family has in horses. What would you think you'd be doing if you wasn't involved in horse racing or being a jockey?
Oh God, I've never thought about anything else, to be honest.
Was there never a
Even
plan B?
There wasn't really. I've studied business management at college and whatnot, but I mean, you can put that into any aspect of life. I just thought that that would help me out in general. I've never thought about any other life, and I do not ever intend to.
So maybe after racing, obviously you're still young. You want to carry on being involved in racing or equestrian.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I've always got a farm back home if the worst comes to the worst, but yeah, being a jockey for now is definitely all that I'm going to be doing.
So let's do some quick fire questions with yourself then. What would you say your favourite race course it was to ride at in the UK and obviously over well in UK and over abroad, shall we say?
Aintree. There's nothing
What
like jumping those fences. It's
uh,
unbelievable the thrill you get from that.
and in New Zealand, did you ride at a few different race courses?
Yeah, so they didn't actually have that many actually. We sort of it was every week you'd alternate a different course. So
Yeah.
there's only really four courses. But they've got a lovely course in the South Island called Christchurch. And that Riccarton Park is a lovely course, and it's probably the most similar to an English course. The fences are really big, and you jump down the back in a straight line, and it's lovely. It's very well kept.
And what's one bit of advice you give to anyone who maybe want to obviously go and explore racing in New Zealand or any other country in fact?
Oh, they're 100% they've got to do it. There's so many people looking for workers, in Australia, New Zealand, America, always looking for track work, and they do pay really well, and it's a great opportunity to learn again how different yards run and to ride different horses, because that's the only way you get better, by just going out and doing it. So I definitely advise people to do it.
And just tell us a little bit about obviously the yard you currently at, how much
Uh,
help they are towards your career so far.
Yeah, they've been brilliant. Kelly has backed me, so I can't thank her enough. I sort of came to a crossroads, and at one point I didn't know where I was going if I wasn't really getting any rides where I was at in my old yard. And I kind of left, and I was unemployed. I had nowhere to go. I just went to America and just hoped when I came back something would come up, or I'd have to go freelance. And luckily, Alice Stevens, who used to ride for Kelly, she turned professional. And Kelly's always quite like lady riders, which is unusual because, usually they don't, trainers
Yeah.
don't, but um, she just sort of thinks they get on better with the horses, especially the type of horses we've got. And I can't think of many other people that would have given me the opportunities to ride the horses on the big stage for the first time. like that is so hard that when they're not your own horses and you're riding for other people, they want the best. And but the only way you're going to get better is by doing it. One day I'd like to think hopefully I could be up there, one of the leading amateurs, but you've got to keep doing it and have the chances. And she has given me so many chances, and she just keeps giving. And the yard is growing. When I first came, I think we had 11 horses, and every year we've got more and more. I'm just going into my third season now, and we started the season with 18. So, we might lose a couple on the way or gain a
Yeah.
few, which is great.
And what's your favourite racehorse you've ridden so far in your career, would you say?
Well, I think the best would definitely have to be Music Drive. He is hands down. One of the best horses. But Precious Bounty, he is a horse that I actually owned. He won 7 on the bounce. He just got my career off the mark. So I'll forever be grateful to him. He was a great little horse, and I just knew when I went out I'd be safe and he'd look after me. And he was just a easy ride.
What would you say your biggest achievement is in racing so far?
A third in the Fox Hunters, definitely. It's one of the biggest races you can get on the stage, and everyone wants to ride at Cheltenham. I think Cheltenham would definitely be on people's list more so than Aintree, just for the fact it's Cheltenham. It's Gold Cup day. There's thousands of people there watching. So yeah, for a first ride, and a fourth is, yeah, brilliant.
Definitely, 100%. Who would you say your best mate is in racing, or have you got a few?
Mm. Jockey wise,
Any,
or just
jockey wise, yeah, or
jockey
anyone
wise?
personally close to you? Jockey wise, maybe, yeah. Do you have
Um,
anyone close?
Yeah, Ellie Holder, she's the girl that I went to America with a few years ago, and I used to work with her full time. She's pretty good, we can talk about a lot of things. And then also my boyfriend, he's a jockey, so I suppose I'd have to say him in the way. He's always looking out for me if we're in the same race or, that kind of thing.
No, 100%, definitely. Do you have any pre-race rituals or any superstitions before you go out for a race? Do you do anything? I know some jockeys have
Uh
certain things, or they have a routine before going out before a race.
Yeah, I always put my kit on in the exact same order. But other than that, unless the colours or I've bought something new, I'll tread all over it just to wear it in before
Yeah,
I use it. But I think you make your own luck sometimes.
yeah, no, definitely. What's one race you'd love to win in the future?
Cheltenham Fox Hunters,
And what
definitely.
and what's one horse we should all look out for in the future? Maybe from your yard.
Music Drive, because obviously last year he was still relatively novice. I think there's a lot more to come from him.
Do you think he'll go
We've
to Cheltenham
also
next year?
Yeah, he's halfway qualified. He just needs to win one more, and he should be at Cheltenham if he runs well. Hopefully, he'll go to Aintree. We've got a lovely young horse in the yard called Cadillac Ranch. I think a lot of him at home. A 5-year-old Westerner that's come over from Edna Bolges in Ireland. So he didn't have the best he's not had the best track record, but I think, he's had a summer out, he's grown even more, he's matured, we've done a lot of strengthening work with him, and he works really well at home. So if he doesn't prove to be a great pointer, hopefully he can go under rules and hopefully he'd be a nice hurdler. So yeah, one to look out for in both aspects, I suppose.
And can you give a message to the viewers or the people who have helped you along the journey throughout your whole career so far, and just how thankful you are for them, from them?
Oh, massively so. Like I say, my mum has probably been the best support I've had, to keep me going. And some days you just want to give up, and I thought, oh, just throw it all away and just go home. Because it's hard. You'll get homesick. Some yards can be you're all on top of each other all the time when you're living with people, working with people, and you can fall out with people, and you don't get to where you want to be, and then you have injuries that stop you. That was like I've had a few broken bones, but last year I broke my leg, and it was mentally so challenging, and the hospital misdiagnosed it, and it just seemed to take forever to get me back. And the IJF were absolutely brilliant, and without them, they got me back riding so much sooner than I was meant to. Um, and I couldn't believe, I'm not a professional jockey. I couldn't believe the help they gave to an amateur jockey. Um, they've had a massive part to play in getting me back fit enough to ride at the festival in Aintree. And obviously Kelly for giving me these opportunities, because without that I'd have nothing. So it's been a massive part from everyone else. I get on and ride, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that keep me going.
No, that's amazing. And one last question: what's one bit of advice you give to anyone who wants to get involved in the sport, not just being a jockey, but any other career that it may give?
Yeah, it's honestly, everyone should, if they want to have something to do with racing, they've got to get involved. There are so many syndicates that are open to people these days. If you want to come and watch a horse, they're so affordable. We have a few syndicates in the yard, and people that aren't horsey, it just lights their face up when they come to the races and see like these beautiful creatures walking around. They all look $1 million, and they're happy, and it's just good fun to get involved. Maybe with betting or anything like that. It's a great day out to come and watch. And also, if you're into horses and you like horses, it's the best industry within the horse industry that you can work in, because like I say, they are looked after so much better than most of the horses. They get the care and everything they need, and there's so much money in the sport. They do get it. It's great. And to any jockey that wants to have a go, like, you don't have to be from a racing family. I thought I'd never be where I am now. I started too late, and my family weren't horsey, but there's always a door in, and if you're willing to work hard enough and keep at it, is there's definitely a door open for anybody.
No, that's great. Great advice there. Well, thank you very much, Harry, for coming on the show. Obviously, it's been lovely to interview you today, and obviously, we wish you the best of luck in the future. And hopefully, we see you on more rides in them big races next year.
Hopefully. Thank you very much for having me.